that, Mark. Let's move on to the other big agenda item globally at the moment, which of course is the pandemic treaty. So take us through this.
Yes, as I've been reporting, the World Pandemic Treaty and the associated international health regulations are being worked on in parallel at the WHO in Geneva. Lots of deadlines coming up, lots of things for our viewers to take note of, lots of reasons to contact your members of parliament. And here is a very important one, right down the bullseye here. We've talked about this before, that once local signatures in the UK cross the 100,000 threshold, the parliament, by their own statements and own stated policy, is supposed to have debates. And this petition that achieved that many signatures, we're looking at 103,012 at the last reading. This petition says, hold a parliamentary vote on whether to reject the amendments to the International Health Regulations of 2005. Those regs were created in the late 1960s, and they've been updating them as of late. And then moving on from there, this is just the nomenclature that's on that same website, that's a Parliament website. Parliament will consider this for a debate. Parliament considers all petitions that get more than 100,000 signatures for a debate, it says. But then it says the government responded as of the 4th of July, 2023, quote, we support targeted IHR amendments to ensure a suitable global framework to respond to international spread of disease. Parliament may scrutinize legislation relating to amendments accepted by the UK. So that's a bit non-committal and vague sounding, but that's basically how that's shaping up. Now here, we have another important part to add. I recently got on the WHO's press register for UK column, so now I can attend their press conferences virtually. And I've been trying to do that. Some of the timings are a little strange because it's in Switzerland, but on this last part, it covers another important aspect. This is a press release since I got on their registry. During their last meetings, the Emergency Committee is advising the WHO's Director General, that's Tedros, on the COVID-19 and mpox, monkeypox situation, expressed the views that that Tedros should issue standing recommendations provided under the IHR to address the long-term management of COVID and monkeypox, COVID-19 and monkeypox. The Director General decided that the issuance of standing recommendations for both diseases is warranted, and to that effect, in accordance with IHR provisions, is convening review committees tasked to provide their views and technical advice with respect to these proposed standing recommendations. These standing recommendations will cover the same period as the WHO's strategic plans, the COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan 2023 through 2025, and the Global Strategy for Elimination and Control of Monkeypox 2023 through 27. And this is important right here. Since entry into effect of the IHR in 2007, this is the first time that the Director General is issuing standing recommendations, the first time ever, which are intended to be implemented by state parties to the IHR. And I spoke to the LA-based sleuth on the WHO and all this stuff last night, James Roguski, and he said the standing recommendations are a way for the WHO apparatus that's working on this to kind of nudge everything along and get the momentum going the way they want, to get the nation states that are involved, the 194 member nation states of the WHO, to get them kind of in a mode or a pattern of implementation, so as to create a fait accompli, a foregone conclusion that most of the nation states will agree to the treaty and the changes to the IHR. So James sees some manipulation here, guys. And so that's the latest. I'll be going to more press conferences of the WHO virtually, and we'll see what else shapes up. But I would just add that viewers are going to want to call their members of parliament in the UK big time if they're concerned about this.
Well, indeed, and we would encourage that, absolutely. Okay, let's move on then. If you like what the UK Column's doing, you'd like to support us, please head over to community.ukcolumn.org. Your membership is absolutely welcome and appreciated. Or you could pick something up at the UK Column shop, which is shop.ukcolumn.org. But please do share anything you find on the various platforms. especially ukcolumn.org and ukcolumnextracts.co.uk. And David, tomorrow we have an interview going out at 1 p.m. with Katie Hopkins.
Yeah, not to be missed. This one, it covers, I think, the full emotional range. I think you could safely say, and it was very entertaining, very interesting, and I do hope people will join us for that.
Brilliant. And then on Wednesday during the news, we're hoping to be joined by Professor Chris Flowers. I mean, we understand we will be joined by Professor Chris Flowers for the news program with Debbie. And just a little bit of background on him. Dr. Chris Flowers, a retired associate professor of radiology at the University of South Florida. He's also worked at other universities in radiology and biomedical imaging and so on. But he has been overseeing and coordinating 3,500 volunteer researchers analysing the released Pfizer and Moderna documents. And he is apparently coming back to the UK, would like to run a similar type of operation over here as well. So we'll hear from him on Wednesday, we expect. Now, we want to issue a quick correction, and that is that on last Monday's programme, Brian was covering the fact that the BBC had run an attack on Gemma O'Doherty and the Irish Light newspaper. The headline there being "Woman abused by paper which falsely said vaccine killed her son." Gemma wants us to clarify that, because we said that, we said it in those terms with the reading out what the BBC had said, but she wanted to make it absolutely clear that the Irish Light paper never said that the boy had died as a result of the vaccination. The paper had said that the boy had died suddenly, and it talked about other cases of sudden death, but hadn't attributed directly the death of the boy to the vaccine. Is that a fair assessment of what the points that she had made, David?
Yes, I mean, the Irish Light newspaper was saying what we were saying, which was there's been a huge increase in sudden deaths. This is unexplained. According to the mainstream narrative, no one knows, and then there's all these very strange suggestions that it's to do with, climate change or what have you. There's all sorts of weird and wonderful suggestions as to why it's happening. And the one thing that's not looked at is the vaccination programme. And as I understand it, the Irish Light newspaper was making this point and pointing towards the vaccination programme as an area which may explain the increase in sudden deaths. And it appeared that the BBC is painting this in a false light. Gemma also gave us other information about some of the conduct of the BBC, and we think that's very interesting. We'll be looking into it, and we'll come back to our audience when we have more detail on that. But it seems the BBC are willing to take information from, shall we say, nefarious sources.
Indeed. Okay, thank you for that.